What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. It's a pretty late video for me, but I really wanted to get this out there tonight, and this is all about Celestia and my plans and how I've shifted basically the plan I have in the Celestia ecosystem. So let's get into it. And without sort of getting into it first, just remember, not financial advice. Please do your own research. And as always, if you want coaching, guidance, and support, we've got the Web3 Secret Society. Link to join that is in the description below. Now, the Celestia ecosystem really stands out among everything else so far in IBC. Now, you may hear me talk about Celestia, Injective, Atom. There's a ton of different chains. And what has really become clear over the last little while is that Celestia likely has the best tech in the IBC industry. Really, their modular data availability network, it's really seeing, or it's really making waves, not just in IBC, but outside of it. And that's why it has really sort of ran to the top in terms of airdrop prominence. Now, the token price, it's done fantastic. Don't get me wrong. The token price is, it's gone from like $2, which was an airdrop back in like October, November, to highs of like $18, $19. In fact, I think it's really seeing a bunch of distribution here. I think this is going to do way better given how much this token is being heavily sought after. Now, for those of you who have seen my Celestia videos in the past, my basic strategy has just been to stake Celestia, and it was pretty simple, right? So I have a bunch of wallets, and I typically stake like somewhere between 30 to 50 Celestia tokens, and I can keep going, right? But basically, the idea behind my Celestia investment was really to have about at least like $500 for the most part in Celestia token. Like I was trying to roughly get to that sort of stage. Now, what's happened is we are seeing a bunch of tiering within the Celestia ecosystem. We saw it with Saga, where Saga said, between the 0 to 33 percentile ranking of TIA staked, they got between 23 to 99 tokens. Then, basically they kept doing it up, for each. AltLayer did the same thing, although they went really high. Like I took a look here, and those who have 35 staked TIA and those who have 200 staked TIA, there's a massive difference, but they were all in the same tier. And it's very important to understand that from a sort of numerical perspective. If you take a look over here, so this sort of graph shows you the amount of Celestia that is staked. About 33% have about 10 or less TIA staked. 57 plus 37, so about 90 have about 100 or less TIA staked, and it gets less and less as you go up here. Over 1,000, it is basically less than 1%. So the fact that AltLayer did the tiering this way, like yes, the top 1% is over here in terms of staked TIA. Still ridiculous, and obviously, bit of a challenge, and I will take into account what AltLayer did, but it can't be the basis of everything, just because it's just way too from one extreme to the other. Now, I wish I had the details on Dimension. Dimension, basically, if you staked one Dimension token, or sorry, one TIA token, you got 205 Celestia tokens just for that one. So they were doing some tiering, but it started off way lower. So what I realized from all of this is the standard approach to have Celestia on multiple wallets might not be the best approach, especially since we won't likely get any more dimension type airdrops where it's just like you get rewarded for 1 or 2 Celestia tokens being staked. So that's very important. One of the things I will show you is Danny Fitzpatrick. I've linked to their Medium article in the description below. Thought it was okay. They basically have some basic information on Celestia, very easy to read. They talk about rollups, rollups as a service, layer ones, and which will likely have airdrops in the system, which is already confirmed, etc. So you can check this out, and it really speaks to how critical it is for you to get this one right. For me, if I could only do one thing right in IBC this year, it is getting the right number of Celestia tokens. I was reviewing it, and every single Injective airdrop is all around staking and sort of, I mean, it's not really being adopted by non-IBC, right? Like Inject, yes, I'm not saying Injective is a bad token or it's a bad ecosystem, but it's made for finance, and their tech is not something that is being adopted outside of IBC. Celestia is, which is why we see it being rewarded on multiple fronts, and we will continue seeing that. It's so important to get it right. So this chart here really does open my eyes as to what you can do to potentially leverage these positions. Now, I'm going to say this very bluntly. The reality is there will be some people who just will not be able to partake in this approach. And by that, what I mean is it is not like I don't expect people to have, copious amounts of money to sit there and have as much Celestia tokens as they'd like. But for those who are able to do it or able to rearrange their accounts, my new plan going forward is to be in the top 10 to 15% of Celestia stakers. In this case, if I'm going to have a wallet with Celestia in it, I want around 100 Celestia tokens or more, maybe a tiny bit more, and that will put me in that upper 10% range. Of course, this will obviously change as time goes on, so I will continue to watch this website. Now, throwing a wrench into this is really Milky Way. So Milky Way is the first example, and Milk TIA, I realized this, yesterday, but it's not a given that just because we have Milk TIA, we will get airdrops. Milky Way actually worked with AltLayer to be qualified within that airdrop, but that doesn't mean that any future airdrops were guaranteed to sort of be getting that reward. So keep that in mind. Liquid staked Celestia tokens are obviously way more valuable to us because we can sort of double dip and stuff like that. We also get the flexibility, but you also want to not be, surprised when they show you that, well, maybe they didn't get you that opportunity because the protocol in question did not value it. So I'm going to give you a bunch of information. At the end, I'm really going to explain to you what my thought process is here. We also have Stride. So Stride is where you get staked TIA. So far, I think it's been 4 or 5 days. And in that 4 or 5 days, I have earned 57.45 Stride token. And I've done that off the basis of about 143 STTIA. Now, STTIA obviously didn't exist by the time the AltLayer snapshot took place, and we don't know if it's going to be considered in future airdrops. But what we also know here is the value or the amount of Stride token that's created on a regular basis is directly proportional to the TVL increase. So by day 2, it was around 12 million Celestia tokens. I believe yesterday it was sitting at like 22 million before the last snapshot, and it's gone up by 5. So the percentage increase is definitely dropping in terms of amount of Celestia being staked in STIA, but I am being very, very careful watching this, because if I'm starting to make maybe 1 Stride token a day over here, 1 or 2, I might start considering to exit my STTIA position. And you're probably like, wait a second, how are you doing that? Because don't you have to stay here for a while? Well, I'm glad you said so. And actually, before I do that, let me just show you the Stride token. The Stride token has actually done pretty well recently. It's up to $5.50. What I will say, there have been people out there, it's come to my attention that they're telling people that Stride token will go to 100. Listen, Stride is going to be a farming token. There's going to be a huge unlocking in 6 months. So I expect there to be either a sell-off prior, right before that, or a sell-off when those get released. So don't believe people who tell you it's going to $100. There's zero chance in the short term that would also, for their total supply, give them, $8.7 billion market cap, which I think is way too high right now. But what Stride did do, as promised, was when they first launched STTIA, they said keep it on Stride, at least until February 5th. And what they've done recently is said, okay, well, now if you hold it on Osmosis Zone or Neutron, we will still give you tokens. So if you want to, you can join the Osmosis Zone DEX, go to pool 1428, and even if you have STTIA and TIA in the pool, it counts for the airdrop. So that's not a bad thing either. Also, Neutron works the exact same way. Now, you can definitely do it. The challenge I have sometimes with Osmosis, and I think it's with all liquidity pools, is the impermanent loss. Now, because you're doing like liquid staking of a specific token and it's the exact same token, it shouldn't really be that bad. But it really depends on if there is a sort of a premium on the STTIA versus TIA. So that's the first thing I wanted to check out. So what I did was I went to Osmosis Zone and I went to actually go to their swap. So the addition of this liquidity pool now meant that people could take their Stride stake TIA, and instead of waiting for the lockup period to end, right, that lockup period where we have to sort of make sure that we are putting it in for 21 to 24 days, we can now take our Stride stake TIA and literally just change it to TIA within an instant, right? So to do that, all you have to do is navigate to the left of your screen, go to assets. When you go to assets, what you have to do is type in under search STTIA. It will show up with a thing to deposit. You click deposit over here. You see I got 142.9999. I could do that, hit deposit, and we'd be in here. And once that happened, I go to swap. I go over here. I type in STTIA, and I can swap it right away without having to wait. Now, what I am noticing is, I came home from work, took a quick nap, and when I did that, I was exhausted. But basically, this used to be even closer. It was 100 to 99.95 for TIA. But I think people are starting to realize that this is an opportunity out here. So if you were one of those people who got in and you're like, okay, the deal's not as good anymore, I want to get out, you could easily make this swap and get out and not have to wait the 21 to 24 days. Now, I'm not doing that yet, and here's why. It's because I'm still earning a decent amount. Once this per day amount goes to 1 or 2 Stride, maybe I won't do it. Then I'll be taking a look at this. But this will continuously happen. And this is also why, if this premium changes and if it becomes like 100 to 90, for example, now I'm not saying that swap is worth it for me, but what I will say to people is, well, this is where my impermanent loss fear comes in, because the pool will have those swaps automatically, and what you earn, you won't sort of outrun it. I noticed it happened with Milk TIA and TIA, where I had even amounts of Milk TIA and TIA in a pool, and by the end of it, I had like 20 to 1 in terms of Milk TIA or regular TIA to Milk TIA. It could happen the other way, and you could really lose a bunch of money. So if you're not sure, and like if the pool is very volatile, depending on sort of what happens here with the lockup of STTIA, like you could just sort of stay out of it. And that's what I'm choosing to do right now. I know some people will disagree. Like I said, that's my personal choice. I'm not saying it's wrong to get in the LP, but the sort of rewards for me just aren't worth it, especially when I'm not sure how long this premium will hold. So going back to everything, I talked about my sort of plan, and I've been talking high level about all the things going on. What I think is very important, right? So let's go back to the Celestia Kepler page. What you want to do is, I think at a minimum, we should treat we should treat what happened with AltLayer as the minimum for amount of stake TIA you'd like with a validator. So try to have about at least 35 TIA staked if possible. Then anything additional, have that in liquid staked TIA, preferably Milky Way. And the reason I say that is, very soon the SDTIA value will no longer be there. It'll be heavily diluted. It's continuously growing. So my thought here is, at least Milky Way, they go and talk to the protocols, and we can potentially get that added so that you can have this topping you up. And not just that, you can also earn the Milk token and lend it out on Quasar Finance and Demex Exchange. So you get a lot more benefits, and that way you're not sort of being held hostage. Whereas, so I want to get 100 TIA tokens staked. That means I'd have at least a 35 minimum of TIA staked with validators, and then 65 or more staked with Milk TIA. Obviously, once again, this is subject to change. If I see airdrops happening where Milk TIA is not included in the snapshot, maybe I just bite the bullet and stake it exactly with the validator. So that thing's sort of still up for grabs. The other thing, and what I will mention here, I've mentioned this on a previous stream on the weekend, I have now closed my osmosis pool, my osmosis staking, my Kujira staking, and my and my Stargaze staking. And the reason for that, they don't pay very well. I don't think Kujira has ever mentioned anything about airdrops. Osmosis, when you did, I got like $200. I got $2 for like $300 to $500 stakes on each account, so it just wasn't worth it. And honestly, it's not going to really take off the way I expect Celestia to. So what I've done is really I am focusing more on having a Celestia stake being my biggest portion in IBC. Right after that will be Injective and then Atom. But I really need to make sure for myself and my portfolio for this year that I really capitalize on those Celestia airdrops. So I really want to make sure that I'm hitting that criteria. Once again, this is not for everyone. The reality is, this specific token, it has really, it's obviously an appreciation of about 800-ish%. So a lot of people might be shying away. I personally believe that this could go way higher if these airdrops are substantial, and I would rather set that base up early and just start tracking through Smart Stake. Remember, link to everything is in the description below. The other thing I will say is, while I am an Injective, what I have done is I have recently redelegated from Black Panther and Talos protocol to Prism on all my wallets. And I'm going to explain very quickly why. Black Panther's announcement was a joke. They mentioned they did one snapshot already, with a second happening at the end of February. At least today, they finally said, 1 point token will go to 1 black token. I think they mentioned this before. They're going to announce their tokenomics very soon, but it's just, a bunch of broken promises, or sort of, very delayed information on a lot of things. And Prism has actually been very forthcoming with what they're doing. I've already seen how much Atom I have been, or how much Prism I've been earning because of my Atom deposits. And I figure might as well just get into Prism over here. So that's why I'm doing that. The other thing I will flag to you guys is, EigenLayer opened up their cap today. So I bumped up my EigenLayer deposits to 3.19. I plan on adding even more. I made a video on this, and I think it's very important that it's time sensitive. You got 3 days and 13 hours. There's no cap. So don't feel like you have to sort of rush out and do it right away. There's no cap. So even with all the incredible demand, I believe I heard 130,000 ETH was staked in the first few hours since the cap got pulled. I think it's very important that you guys take your time to decide if this is right for you. I made a video on it, so maybe that'll help. I think it's important as well to recognize that the Swell City airdrop is going to happen sometime in Q1 2024. That's likely sometime in the next 7 weeks. That's why why I've chosen Swell Network to be where I get my, let's just say liquid staked ETH or whatever to restake with EigenLayer. But that's all up to you. You decide what's going on. But that's basically my Celestia plan. I really wanted to go over that because I think it's important. I think that a lot of people have a lot of differing opinions. This constantly changes, right? one of the realities in this space is we cannot just sit here and stick with the assumptions that we've had for so long. AllLayer really kind of woke it up for me. I'm so sick and tired of being spread too thin just to have coverage on a bunch of protocols. I would rather be fully covered on Celestia than have coverage on like all these other chains. So that's why I'm sort of I'm shuffling everything around, having, as I mentioned, my goal is to have 100 TIA in sort of wallets, making up liquid stake plus stake with validators, at least 35 stake with validators. The first time I see that we don't qualify for an airdrop through the liquid staked milk TIA, guess what? I'm going straight to the validator. That's just the reality of it. And because I think that there's way more potential in what I'm going to miss out for by not doing that than the small amount I would get from milk tokens. And yes, I know it sucks around having it locked up for 21 days, but there are so many worse things you can do than lock up your money for 21 days, especially Celestia. And I think, mark my words, when people start seeing the airdrops come out, right? I believe Dimension is literally on the horizon. When they start seeing that come out, we're going to start seeing the prices of Celestia really do well. And if I was honest, I would expect the prices of Injective and the others to sort of come down as people start realizing, wait a second, Injective is good, but if you could only pick one thing to invest in IBC, it is hands down Celestia. And I think that reality is really going to come to the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So it's like about 1 a.m. here, but I wanted to sort of come here and sort of let you guys know exactly what my thoughts are. And I'm going to see who's in the comments here. I know it's very late, so we got like almost 70 people on the line, but not that many comments. Let's see what's going on. Hey man, just got here. Is it still worth it to stake on Stride? It feels like whales are highly favored. I mean, whales are always favored with anything where you have to stake an amount on a token. So the only reason that whales did not dominate from the start is because we made fast moves. When Stride or STTIA got announced, I made a sort of post in the private group and did a live stream right away, and very few people got in for the first snapshot, and a lot of whales didn't. And now whales are sitting there trying to move over. I would be very interested to see what happens on day 22. I expect to see that a lot of whales maybe have unstaked from validators. If you take a look at validators within Kepler, you can see like how much TIA is sitting in like places, right? Like millions and millions and millions. And we are finally getting to the point where 25 million TIA is currently staked with this protocol. But 27. But there's so much that could come. So I expect to see, those who had unstaked when that announcement came out start putting it in here. But remember, we only care about the first 60 days. That's when the best benefit is, right? So like even now, I got 143 TIA. I get 5 Stride token a day. That's $25. So $25, if I go back to like how much I have in here, I got 2,500. So that is 1% API or 1% every single day. That's not a bad return. The only thing I would say, remember, is I am not getting this right away. It's a 6-month cliff, but still, it's still not bad. And I would love if STTIA would also qualify for airdrops. It would make it much easier on all of this. Don't also forget you get 13.42% in yield. So that's also pretty cool. But yeah, so like, yes, it is a whales game, but I think that if you would make enough money to make it worthwhile in the short term, especially now that you can swap it on osmosis zone, like there's no longer that huge disadvantage that there existed before. So that's something to definitely think about. If you can outpace it, I would say if you're going to do it soon. Don't wait. The longer you wait, the less lucrative this opportunity gets, and it gets worse and worse every single day. Geronimo, hey everybody. Hey, how's it going? World of AI. Am I hyped for Dimension? Yes, I am. So I'm hyped for a four-figure airdrop. I think for a lot of people, it's going to be their first big win, and I'm excited to sort of see how that goes. I think there are going to be some substantial airdrops this year, but I think Dimension was the airdrop for the people. If you had one Celestia token staked, you got like 205 Dimension tokens, right? And I haven't seen the recent price today because I've been really busy. The last I checked, it was between $4 to $5 a token. Like that's pretty substantial, especially for a lot of people who don't have the liquidity, right? I think this is where it's so important that people get these like wins early on, because as the cycle goes on, it only gets harder, right? And like a lot of people, like I don't want them to feel like they're sort of left out. If you are one of those people who's unable to, hit these requirements, I did make a video yesterday talking about how to make it in crypto, where I showed what you could do if you actually didn't have the liquidity or enough liquidity to be competitive in some of these chains. Remember, it's all about location. Somebody could be a shark here, or sorry, somebody could be like a fish here, that'd be a shark in another chain because all the whales are not there, right? You're really looking for the blue ocean, right? If everyone is a whale, then no one is. So like you really have to like look for a competitive edge, and people just don't have the liquidity to spread themselves thin across every chain. And some people don't even want to go and learn other chains, and because they have money, they can afford to do that. So where they're choosing to be a little more lazy can be your gain. In a couple of hours. Yo, that's awesome. Yeah, so by the way, when that comes out, I will be making a video showing how to like, whatever to do with it and my strategy there. I think this one is directly airdropped, and you just add the RPC, so there's no claim needed because I think we did that before, so that's good. One of my favorite test nets right now, I would say the most important one for you guys, data ownership protocol. I linked all this in yesterday's video, but data ownership protocol, if they haven't wrapped up today, they're going to wrap up in the next few days. Make sure you get that. It's a very easy win. The only challenge you'll have is you need 3 referrals. So if you have 3 referrals, then I think you're golden there. Barachain is going to be a very important test net. Oh, Yucca Finance. So Yucca Finance, I'm going to bring this up again. I always talk about this one. I'm telling you guys, please don't sleep on it. I don't want to hear from anyone that they didn't get their allocation here. So I was talking to some members in that team. I should make sure this does not show up. Sorry, just give me a second. So I was talking to some members in the team, and basically what they had said is their token generation event. Their token generation event will literally be looking at those who have done the testnet and incentivize them. So you see there's 410 task points. That's the current number of task points you can get. There'll be more activities that are coming up. And let's be honest here, if you don't have the money to do all these bigger whale drops or airdrop, whatever farming, focus on getting all your testnets right. That means going in and doing every single faucet daily. Grab your faucet tokens daily. Go do your testnet activity daily. So I covered all the testnets in that video. DOP testnet and Yucca Finance have been confirmed that they will provide rewards. So it's going to happen, and I didn't say this, but you can scale it, right? I talk a lot about in that video what the benefits, the pros, the cons are, what you should consider doing. Please watch that video, and you'll get a lot more detail. There's a bunch more as well, right? There's Metis testnet, there's Aerotech, Aeroscraper Tech, there's Blaze Markets, there's tons. Okay. Arnold Kalelo says, "Hey bro, I'm back. I got 200 DYM. Should I stake it?" Yeah, well, I think so. I think so. Something I always tell people is ask yourself. I like to also take a bit of profit. So currently, I'm likely to stake 75% of it and sell 25% of it. My original plan was to sell 25%, stake 50, and hold 25 to sell higher. Given sort of the adoption of this technology and the roll-ups, I'm likely to stake 75% and sell 25% if the price is good. If the price is shit, I'm going to wait to sell the 25%. But you really want to pay yourself. There's no point. I have been in the last cycle where people never, like, they claimed all their airdrops, never sold any single one of them, and some of them were substantial, and they watched them go down during the cycle. So it takes your risk off the table. That's sort of my thought. Tibet says, I got poison address in my MetaMask. I lost 0.5 that I appear. What? That I swapped to WS ETH? I'm sorry. I'm a little confused by your question. So did you lose your 0.5 ETH or did you swap it? And then, if you swapped it, you should be able to just stake it in EigenLayer. I made a video on this, so if you can be more clear, that'd be great. Hey, buddy, annoyed by 30. Yeah, that sucks. You know what? Like, I thought, so I have a couple wallets. I thought that one wallet I showed with 32 TIA tokens didn't get there, but I was fortunate enough that I had milk TIA, and the milk TIA had pushed me across the threshold. But 100% that sucks, and it's things like this, right? So, Colin, my first question to you, and this is sort of what I asked myself: what do I want to focus on? Like, how they say, like, jack of all trades, master of none? That's how I feel about, like, spreading your liquidity too thin in this ecosystem. So if you have staked in Injective, Atom, Osmo, whatever, ask yourself. I mean, we know this, right? We don't have to ask ourselves which token seems to keep getting the limelight. It's Celestia. So if Celestia is doing that, and Celestia is being used in a ton of protocols, in EVM protocols, it stands to reason that we've got to focus on upping up that bag. And if we're doing that, well, this is where we can get that up, and hopefully you'll never have to miss a single airdrop going forward. I will say AltLayer is the exception, where they did get a little too aggressive with their criteria, but it sucks about, like, Dimension, and it sucks about the other protocols, because when they come out, I think that this is a very handy guide. You want to typically be, for airdrops, in the top 10 to 20%. What am I saying? Top 30% is good. I'm not good enough to sort of be able to break this down because of the way it scales, but I would love to know exactly where that threshold is. It's somewhere between 50 and 100 likely for that. But this is also why I'm like, I'd rather just be in the top 10 and put 100 to you. Obviously, like, it really depends on your wallet, and that's why I'm saying, hey, forget Osmosis, forget some of these other chains. I'm closing all that and putting that money into this, because I want to make sure that if I'm missing an airdrop, it is not Celestia. I am Prince. I'm selling 20. Oh, sorry, stake 20, sell 200, so I can find something. Yeah, and that's not a bad idea either, right? For each their own. Great. Dop, Bera, and Yaka, I've been grinding for weeks. That's awesome. I would love to know how you. I guess Bera doesn't matter so much because it's only their campaign where you need to get that stupid cub roll, right? That was probably annoying. Claudia says, I was in exactly the same situation, Colin. It's hard to see airdrops if you're left outside, but patience will pay out. Yeah. I think it's really important that people just go, hey, like I've been there too. We've all been there. We've missed out on an airdrop, and it feels like everyone else is celebrating. But this is really the point where you go, okay, let's double down. Let's decide which ones we really want to, like, make sure we secure. And that's the one that you are not compromising on. Everything else, okay, cool. I can have a small amount. If I get an airdrop, so be it. I need to make sure every Celestia airdrop, I am going to make it. That's what you got to sort of do. Do I have a guide for Yaka Finance? I do. You can check on the channel. What I would say here is, in that guide, I also talked about their upcoming mint that you could easily qualify for in that whitelist. I ended up qualifying for 2, and I made almost like $800, like the easiest $800 that I've made just from qualifying for that whitelist, getting the Yaka Voyager NFT. But it's there. Ignore the NFT thing because it's obviously over. Dwayne says, do you think there's still time to farm ZK stake? Yes, I do. So one of the things that I do is I use a tool called ZK Flow. What ZK Flow does, and there's a bunch of these, ZK Flow, Wenzer, but for ZK Sync, I think it's fantastic. What it does is it shows me exactly like where I am, and it uses the Arbitrum kind of scaling to understand, like, you know, kind of where I stand for this. So this gives you a good snapshot. And then I believe there's a website, I showed this on the last stream, called NFT Copilot. And I'm going to bring that up in a second. Just make sure I click on this thing. So we'll go over here. NFT Copilot just shows you like exactly, you know, if you type in your wallet address, where you stand. So I'm just going to make sure I go here, check. And while I'm doing that, wait, what? Oh, oops. There you go. So while this is checking, one more thing I'll show you here is on this, you can click on this and it shows you like everything you can do better. So conducting transactions during 9 distinct months. This is very important, right? Because they're looking for people who are not bots, like not just, or not people who just show up one day. So you see here, I got 13 unique weeks, 33 unique days, 7 unique months, 27, they're like light, which is ZK Sync 1.0. Transaction value, and this one I'll just be honest with you, I did a bunch of swaps and I lent to like zero lend and back just for a few cents. I did it for thousands of dollars, but the gas fee was a few cents. And if you go down here, see all the protocols you can interact with. Sometimes they don't capture it, so just be aware of that. Like Goal 3, I've done about a bunch of sports betting, zero activity on here, but that's not true. But I think it's very important to get a snapshot. So this is a really good tool to help. ZKflow.net. I'll put that link in the chat. And then what I will also do is over here, you can see now that I am in the top 2% of ZK Sync farmers, right? I'm number 77196. And it tells me where like I can improve. And it's definitely this one, 7 months, top 27. It's because most people have way more than that, because it's easy to have interactions over months. I've been focusing more on volume transactions and stuff like that and bridging. So yeah, that being said, yes, there's still time to farm. Make sure you do it. Make sure you at least farm on ZK Sync once a month. And it can be very simple. It could be an orbited transaction. It could be a swap, whatever. Just do it so that you get that. That's the hardest gate to get, because you can't do it all overnight. Where's the best place to stake Injective? Just do it in Kepler. And when you're doing that in Kepler, by the way, I made a video on sort of Injective airdrop guide. In that video, I talked about Talus Protocol and Black Panther. I'm now just completely in Prism for this. So that's what I'm in for, okay? What's the minimum TIA to stake for airdrops? We don't know. It continuously changes. It was 1 for Dimension. It was range for Sage, or for Saga, sorry. It was the 0 to 33 percentile ranking, so 23 to 99. So hard to know, right? Because they wanted at least 23 Celestia tokens here. And then alt layer was 35. So I would go and just, if you want to be safe, 35. That's what I would say, just to be safe. And obviously any more you can have is even better. I hope that helps. What's your thoughts on Dojo Swap and the 2 airdrops Dojo Swap will have this month? So I was part of Dojo Swap's IDO. I got a bunch of their tokens. I was in their farms. In fact, I was in their farms as a holding pattern when the Stride or STTIA opportunity came out. For those of you who don't remember, Hydra Finance launched their protocol last week, and I saw how much was being locked up, and I told myself and people in the group, right now, I'm not doing it. They ended up changing their lockup period too, providing a way for users to swap out and not have to wait. But I'm glad that I wasn't sort of locked up there, because I was able to take that money, took it out of Dojo Swap, and put it directly into Stride Zone with STTIA. The 2 airdrops Dojo Swap is having is all about like these kind of meme-ish tokens. So it could be good, it could not be, who knows. If you want something actually lucrative on Dojo Swap, I think it's more in their launch pads. I think their launch pads are very lucrative. Anytime you can get into a launch pad during the start of a cycle, people go nuts, right? And yes, it's like they have these typical overflow models. So what happens is like, you may bid like 1,000. Like let's say you have 1,000 Injective. Actually, sorry. Let's just say you have 10 Injective. Okay, you have 10 Injective. You bid it here. Then basically everyone bids as much as they can. Then it looks at the final amount bidded, and then looks at the cap, and then gets the percentage of what that was, and then that's the percentage that you're refunded. So like, or not refunded, but that's the percentage that they use to decide how much tokens you get. So if they got 10x the people investing in, or the amount, so they wanted to sell 1,000 Injective worth, but they sold 10,000 Injective worth, then they will divide everybody's thing by 10. In that case, you would only spend one Injective and get whatever amount allocated to that and get refunded the rest. This is what happens, and typically you see this here. And the beauty about launch pads, the way to play these is just sit there and watch. There's no rush to get in early on. Watch and see how much is committed. Make sure you don't sort of, wait out way past the time. But this allows you to then jump in last minute, put in a bunch of money, knowing full well that there's a ton of hype. Because when things oversell like this, you see oversells by 700%, then on the secondary market right away, while the hype is still strong, you can dump those tokens. That's sort of the approach. But I would not, I care more about that than I care about these airdrops on Dojo Swap. In this case, Punk and Baby Dojo. That's just my thoughts. Chris says, I stake Injective on Kepler. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the best approach. Not fair. I only have 4 in TIA in Milky Way and 5 with a validator. Should I just make it in one place? I mean, if you have that amount, I wouldn't worry so much about it. If you can make that number at least 35, then I would get it in the validator. But at this stage, at least the 4 TIA locks up the milk airdrop for you. And then the 5 can potentially add with the 4 anyways. So in this case, I would not change it. If you had 35 though, let's just say you had 35 35 is the number I would pick. That's when I put all with a validator, just to be sure. Because then you can pretty much be certain you'll get at least the bottom tier airdrop. Colin says, good point. I hold TIA and Pyth, which I plan to DCA in. Maybe I will cut Pyth. Yeah, remember, like the thing is, like imagine this, okay? You got a roulette table, but it's shifted. So in this roulette table, for some reason, the number 20 gets hit all the time. Now, your instincts are like, well, I want to have coverage on everything. But if 20 is the one getting hit all the time, I'm going to start taking things away from others and putting it on 20. And that's what Celestia is. Celestia just seems to be the most attractive token, and it makes sense because of the technology and how that technology can be used in various chains. And that's sort of why there's airdrops associated with Celestia and its use and its staking. So look at the spots where you're like, it would be nice to have if I had an opportunity or extra liquidity. Where do you want to focus on? And remember, this is a player versus player game. All of this stuff shifts over time. So what you want to do is keep track on something like Smart Stake, and I put the link in the description to see how this is shifting. This is also why I'm saying I want to be in the top 10%, but that just means I stake 100 TIA tokens. All of a sudden, I'm in the top 10% of this, and I should qualify for the bigger tiers of airdrops too. What do I think of movement, basically? Are Pyth stakers eligible for the movement airdrop? I don't know. I honestly would tell you to wait until any sort of final confirmation. At this point, if it's already been taken the snapshot, it doesn't matter. If you are a Pyth staker, make sure you do capitalize on Zero Lend. So Zero Lend is a protocol that will be having an airdrop for their Zero token, not to be confused with the Layer Zero airdrop. And you can actually, if you bind your Pyth, if you go to the Pyth or staking.pyth network, you have to make sure that you have in your profile, you bind your so this is like here you see 1,000 Pyth staked over here. You want to go to profile at the top, and you want to put an EVM address in here, and that way, like if there are airdrops associated with Pyth in EVM, like the Zero Lend token, you get credit for this. Okay, I think Linea is something I'm going to print big on. Yeah, so Linea has a bunch of LXP that's been airdropped to people, and right now it's not it's soul bound. but I really think they're going to use that to decide how big someone's airdrop is. So there were some campaigns on Interact. They had a few other initiatives. I tried to get into Unfettered, which was like this like game. I got like 10 points for registering, but I have a Mac, so I couldn't get like whatever game they had that was only on PC. Do I expect any minimum injective staking? No. So the way it works is Black Panther and Talos Protocol, at least portions of their airdrop, are apparently for just amount of injective staked, and it's a linear basis. So like it'll just be a specific like linear equation. So if you have 1 injective stake versus 2, you'll make twice as much as you would have. Or if you have 5 injective versus 1, you'll make 5x. They didn't mention anything about minimums, and most of the time claim drops are just like you earn fractions as they go on. So no, I don't think so. Wenzer is great. Yes, Wenzer is great. Make sure you do GRVT. Yeah, so I have the GRVT, and I get 2 referral codes every single week. I've been giving them out like candy. Apparently, I don't get them fast enough. One of the other things for ZK Sync that you want to consider is guilds. So ZK Sync, and this is something that's very, very interesting. There's a bunch of ZK Sync NFTs that you can get. It's like Omnibus or something. It was given to early ZK Sync users. I was not a very early ZK Sync user, so I went and bought it off the secondary market. This got me access and a special role within ZK Sync's Discord, and it seems to be somewhat important. It was actually used recently on a Galaxy campaign just yesterday or 2 days ago. If you want to get if you want to get a specific NFT from this Galaxy, you had to have the Omnibus. So I do think what ZK Sync is doing is very interesting. So let me just I'm going to not bring up guilds yet. I just want to take a look quickly before I do, because what ZK Sync is doing is very interesting. I just want to check something quickly. So I can't bring it up, but maybe I'll talk to it. So what ZK Sync is doing is they require you to have a Gitcoin account. And what Gitcoin does is basically a proof of humanity. This is their way of ensuring that you're a real person. And I think it's very neat because there's a ton of people who are farming ZK Sync. But if they make this a criteria for you to get your airdrop, to sort of join their level 1 in their Discord, which requires a Gitcoin score of at least 20, it's going to be almost impossible to farm, because for me to get the 25 score or level 2, I had to give my government ID and everything else like that. Like maybe there were better ways to do it, but it was the only way that I saw that I could do it feasibly, like LinkedIn, social medias, and everything. So they're going to make it so people can't dilute it and unfairly take tokens away from others. That's what it seems. Claudia says, I agree with your Black Panther conclusion, especially the vaults were smoke in our eyes, the real yield even more. Yeah, exactly. 1 point after a few weeks for $80. It was terrible. In the first few weeks of that, I had 1,000 staked. I got 1 point a day. It was terrible. And I was like, what does this even mean? And then they didn't even talk about it until people complained. All they did was like, oh my God, Black Panther, look at this collaboration, look at this collab. And now that people are upset, they're trying to do the minimum, basically. It's terrible. What's my opinion on Solana with Marinade, Margin 5, and Camino? I'm staked, lending, borrowing, etc. through all three. I think there are opportunities on Solana. Let me show you the thing that I'm kind of interested in right now. So just give me 1 second as I bring this up. JLP. So there is kind of the perpetual for JLP, or the JLP pool. So this is what I am currently doing as well. So there's a couple things. I mentioned Parcel. I mentioned Soul Blaze. These are Soul Blaze with the Stake City Validator. These are ways to sort of earn money. The JLP pool, you can see here, they've already hit their cap. Every time they increase their cap, they hit it. And it's basically like a perpetual pool. So when people win, this pool loses money. When people lose, this pool earns money. And we already know most traders are losers. These protocols wouldn't exist if that wasn't the case. This is the same way a casino works. So here's your opportunity, or here's my opportunity anyways, to be the casino. So what I've done is I have invested into this JLP pool. And what I'm doing is basically it's sort of made up of a bunch of different tokens. And the price currently is $1.97, 197.4. If you get it through this option when it's not capped, you can pay the actual price. Otherwise, you have to go through the swap or the limit order function on Jupiter and buy it that way. So you type in here JLP, and you can see here the price is actually 2.09 cents. But you'll have to sort of buy it this way, which is kind of, a little annoying, but just take a look at how it's done. Let me just go back. Let's see if I can go back a day or so, like in days. JLP. Oh, sorry, this graph sucks. Like there's an actual, oh, that's why I'm doing on Solana. Where's USDC? Yeah, you can see here, it's literally a steady climb. Right? So you basically get a chance to invest in the casino over here. And I think, I had the liquidity. I'm like, why not do this? No one's talking about this. And honestly, guys, like, I'm glad you asked the question because, it didn't even cross my mind to make a video on it. It was just something that, I did. And I told the group to do as well. I think that this is, there is risk involved, obviously. And you don't want to pay the premium by doing it through the swap or the limit order function on Jupiter. But I think that JLP pool is a very, it's a very, very good option. It's a way to almost be the casino. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so Colin, I hope that answered your question. I think Parcel's good. I think Soulblaze is good. I think, I restake on Camino Finance as well. Once again, with a lot of these things, if you want to put like a few dollars in one or the other, go for it. But pick one that you can really go heavier in than the others because a lot of them are points based. So Camino Finance, I mean, I think they're all points based, but Camino Finance is where I'm going hard. Okay. Ocho, nice. That kind of reminds me of Dodgeball for some reason, Ocho. Channel Ocho. Yo, my man finally caught a live. Love the show. Thanks for the alpha. Hey, really appreciate that. Surya says, what do you think of move? Did I not answer this question? Yeah. Same thing I said earlier. So basically, rewind and watch, but I have no opinion on move until we sort of hear exactly what's going on. Ocho says, joining the private group this week on payday. Awesome. Here's what I will say, by the way. I don't want the private group to blow up because we are getting a lot more members. Guys, be very critical on yourselves. If joining the private group would take away from your ability to build your portfolio, I would rather you sort of sit there and focus on your portfolio. Don't join like the private group. There is a sort of threshold to keep people out who would sort of disrupt the group. But that being said, I don't want people joining the group and not having liquidity to sort of pursue moves. So if you have this is more for people who have money than time. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you have money, this service will help you sort of cut to what the opportunity is. What I don't want is someone saying, oh, well, I only got $100 every week to, put into crypto or maybe, a couple $100, a month. Let me give this guy, $25. Once again, I would rather you take that, just watch the videos and do that. The private group, if it would make, like I said, if it's like, how do I put this? If it's like even 5% of the amount that you would, would get to put in there, please, just, I would love to have more people, but I'd rather you focus on building your portfolio. I hope that makes sense. But like I said, decision's up to you. I passed Hydro and put a small amount of coins at Dojo. Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of what I did too. I haven't checked back on Hydro Protocol. I'll be interested to see what happens. About Pyth, I staked 170 Pyth 2 weeks ago. Is there any airdrops on it? So Arnold, I made a video on Zero Lend on my channel. Go watch it. Pyth is a part of it. it's not it is not a specific threshold for this one, at least. If you have binded your Pyth to the EVM address, like I showed you in that video, and like 5 minutes ago, I showed it here too, you'll get the credit for it. What I will say is for Pyth, you want to take a look at the Dune dashboard. I think I covered it in one of the videos, but basically what you want to do is make sure you're not in the bottom, like 60% of Pyth stakers. That puts you around, like, you want to be in between 1,000 and 1,300. So my plan is to actually up my Pyth holdings by 300 tokens, because I want to keep in the top 25 to 30%. Okay. Alexander Hickman's got a GRVT code if anyone wants it. I can't buy Omnibus, the floor is too high. Yeah, 100%. So ZK Sync, that Omnibus is not for people who don't have the funds to like sort of farm it. This is for like, at this point, like, you know, people with much bigger accounts who want to make sure they get their airdrop. And I'll be honest with you, you know, one of the other things with the Omnibus is there's a ton of speculation on it, and I can, you know, if it goes up high enough, I might flip mine. World of AI, is anyone farming Parcel? This guy right here. I made a video on it. I'm sure you've watched it, or maybe you haven't. But I think it's good. I add liquidity there. They did make some changes. So what people were doing on Parcel was they were opening a very high long and a very high short, basically effectively canceling on different accounts and trying to farm massive points that way, knowing that the point spread would be the same, right? Because there was no penalty. That stuff is now going to be looked out for, and they are going to be punished. So I'm glad to hear they're doing that. I think Stake City is a gem. Yeah, it 100% is. Stake City is great. Soul Blaze, you know, get your B Soul, use the Stake City validator, you know, earn extra points there, then lend your B Soul on Community Finance. I got a video talking about that. I believe it's my Solana airdrop guide. Interested in exploring airdrops on other chains like Ava and Matic? Do I know of any? Nothing in particular that's substantial. I know Matic is going to rebrand to Pole. So I have a bunch of Pole or a bunch of Matic tokens ready for Pole. What I would say, 11, is focus on the Say side of things, or look at stacks. You want to get away from chains that are easy for whales to access. Any whale can go and get onto Matic right away, and they can bridge right away, right? Orbiter Finance and stuff makes it super easy to do that. However, if you, or, you know, Sushi Swap or whatever. However, going to Say and going to stacks is much harder, and there is way more lucrative opportunities there. So that's where I am looking right now. You know, the first NFT I got in Say, I made like $800 in like a few minutes, you know, and I think there's going to be a ton more coming. Any more GRVT codes? The code was maxed out already. Yeah, Chris was asking if anyone wants to post it here. I am Prince, got a GRVT code. Nice. All right, perfect. I see you guys are talking, so I'm not going to put that in here. Arnold says, you know, that's why I love this man. Even if you're not in the private group, the Brown Jet will help you. Yeah, no, 100%. Like I said, guys, I don't have all the time in the world. I manage a 9-figure P&L at work. I don't have the time to, you know, make videos all the time. Literally 1 a.m. I came back from a work event, had too much wine, but here I wanted to give you guys an update on everything going on. But reality is I'm just not able all the time. That's what that private group is for. When I'm here, I will love to answer as many questions as I can. Over there, it's actually like the white glove service. And, you know, that being said, you know, Ocho, I hope you listened to what I said before you signed up, but he, you know, welcome to the Web3 Secret Society. And, you know, make sure you connect your Discord to your YouTube account. And when you join, I'll make sure to set you up with a private channel as well. ZK Sync said themselves there will be another opportunity to mint the Omnibus NFT. Yeah, I heard about that, but I heard it's very limited quantity. So that's good to know. Should I keep my money in Orca or use that money to farm? It really depends on you. Ask yourself, what do you think you can gain from Orca versus elsewhere? Remember, everything in this space is an opportunity cost. So if you, you know, if you give up Orca, what else are you going to farm to make up for it? These are only questions you can ask. Like for Orca, I'm not as familiar with what the opportunities are. I am familiar with the opportunities with Celestia versus everything else, and I'm not willing to jeopardize Celestia airdrops for anything else in this ecosystem. So until I got that one right, everything else is up for grabs, basically. Is your name okay? These guys are still chatting. Alexander Hickman, thoughts on DOT 2.0 and potential airdrops within the ecosystem? I'll be honest with you, I am not as familiar with Polkadot and everything going on. That's actually why I don't cover it. There's just too much in this space to be on top of. I just started getting more oversight into what's going on in Solana in the last few weeks. But as I get more acclimated, I will be branching out to more chains, and then I'll give you my opinion there. I think probably the other thing I'm sort of looking at now is nodes. If nodes being done right, there's a ton of like bad information on nodes that's available right now. I'm trying to find out what the good information is and how I can execute on that, and if it's worth it. So I want to like do an analysis. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. But it'll definitely, like, Polkadot and stuff will be on my list because this was a chain that did well in the last cycle as well. So I want to check that out. Aries, just wanted to ask about the Shoe Build Galaxy campaign. How can I check if I got qualified? Were you able to complete all your tasks? So for the Galaxy campaign, what you've got to do is at the end of it, you basically, at the bottom, you can claim an OAT, an NFT, or some points. If you've done that, then you've done all you can. That's the number one thing. And what Galaxy does is when they give you an NFT or an OAT or this gives you a role, this stuff can actually support you through whatever the extra benefits are. That's what I would do. And I had a video on this one, but I'm sure that's why you're asking. All right, cool. So these guys finally got sorted out. Yeah, Dot's got a ton of development on it. Yeah. And this is the time, right? Okay. Sean's asking, can you go through ZK Flow again? I have to get points for volume transactions. You have a video about a smaller amount of transaction. How can I increase volume with large transaction? So this is actually, let me just bring it up on the screen first. So this is actually how I first got into Zero Lend. So Zero Lend, by the way, this is what I was talking about earlier. You can get their claim drop. For those of you who are interested, I made a video. I'm not going to go into it. I go to Visit App, and on Visit App, you should be able to change the network. Where is this? So you can change it to ZK Sync. So in the ZK Sync market, here's a cheat code. What you could do is literally go in here and deposit Ethereum. So you go here. Where is this? What wallet am I connected to? Oh, this is wrapped ETH. That's why. Where's actual ETH? Why am I like so? Here. So basically, I can go to supply here. Watch this. 0.8. Okay. I'm going to show you guys this for a second. Whatever. Switch network. So I'm going to go 0.8 supply ETH right here. Okay. We'll approve this. So the way ZK Sync works is like you pay transaction fees up front that are heavy. They refund you a ton of it back. So I paid 88 cents, but truly I'm only paying 7 cents. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll do this here. I'm just going to deposit. And now I got this. I will go to my dashboard. I'll go withdraw, max. Yeah, cool. This way I'm paying 27 cents. We'll max this out. And literally this is like, what is that? 0.8 is how much? I just got $4,000 worth of transactions. Does that make sense? So that's literally how I built it up. And I paid what, 40 cents for it? Don't do this like just repeatedly at the same time. They're going to catch on and they will think this is fake activity, right? But this is what everyone is doing. Refresh this. I just had to approve the withdrawal in terms of amount. yeah, so I hope that sort of makes sense. Anyways, wow, it is 2 a.m. So guys, any more questions, please put in the comments below. A lot of what I do, and I apologize if sometimes I can't respond to your comments, but put them in the comments below. I typically kind of read over them when I get a chance, and it helps influence the next couple topics that I talk about, or maybe it's something I will pull out from there to say, hey, this was a question that was asked. Let me make sure I answer it with some visuals or some website or whatever. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you being here. We got like 75, 80 people on the stream. A lot of engagement. Thank you all. I didn't expect it for this late. That being said, please help support the channel. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.